On this episode, we talk about Seth Rollins' Daily Show, the Brock Lesnar situation, Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania match, the Intercontinental title feud, John Cena vs. Rusev, and more now on Byte That. Hello everybody, you are listening to episode 80 of Byte That, the somewhat, maybe international professional wrestling podcast where we talk about the ups and downs of that which we love, which is free Niagra. Thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. Remember, we are available each and every Tuesday night on TuneIn Radio, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and of course, you can go to our website, which is where we have a brand new contest where you can win Jericho's third book, signed, free, delivered to your door, courtesy of Byte That. My name is Juan Velez. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico. And as always, we have the full staff. Everybody is employed. Everybody's here from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Keith Poshik, people.
Juan, how meta would it be if Wade Barrett joined the Ascension and he started saying welcome to the wasteland before he did his finisher?
It would make the Ascension relevant again. Wait, they never were right now.
Oh.
But it's a sad thing. Something that isn't sad, Keith. The honorary member known as Ryan McNulty. How you doing, man?
Now I'm only an honorary member. What's going on?
You missed 2 appearances, Ryan. Yep. What's wrong?
Everybody's employed, but except the honorary member.
You missed 2 podcasts, Ryan. Never
yes, I know. Those. Shame on me. For shame. Quick thing I wanted to say. This Friday, March 6th, I'm going to be at PAX East. Ooh. If any one of our listeners happens to also be going, shoot a direct message to @ByteThatCast. You know, if you want to say hi, I think that would be pretty cool. So just shoot a DM over to @ByteThatCast if you happen to be going to PAX East in Boston this Friday. I'm only going to be there Friday.
Indeed, and if there's any 2 members going and they want to coordinate, if you give Ryan the fall of man, I will have quite a nice reward for you.
If you record it on video, we will put it up on the channel. I don't care if Ryan's neck breaks. I will put it up. But you know what? We have a large agenda between Raw and just all the things. Samoa Joe, just too many things happening. So this is obviously a very, very packed episode. So let's get to what has been an amazing Raw. I'm sorry I got to open it up like that. This was my favorite Raw of almost the past year, realistically for me. I just want to get some quick reactions. Do you agree with what I'm saying, or are you shaking your head a little bit?
I thought it was a good Raw. It didn't completely blow me away. I thought it was pretty consistently entertaining though for a 3-hour Raw. And you don't have to apologize for saying something positive about a Raw show.
I loved it.
It's good. We're wrestling fans.
This is the
wasteland. We should say more positive things, but I thought it was definitely a solid show.
It was a very solid show, but I would argue the fact that it wasn't a very solid show in regards to building WrestleMania. Like, we're 3 Raws away from the big show, and WrestleMania doesn't feel like, WrestleMania's coming yet, so good, bad, really.
Yeah, like in my case, I think the reason I loved it so much was because, number one, it wasn't really for any of the wrestling, but just the segments worked so well. We got such a variety of the segments. You know, we always complain about the fact that there's not a lot of backstage stuff. I mean, the thing we're going to be getting to now is obviously the Daily Show segment with Seth Rollins. Ryan and I have watched the Daily Show a lot for a couple of years. So the fact that we got Jon Stewart on Raw, you know, after that promo that he cut, Seth Rollins actually showed up on the Daily Show. And then we got this segment here. And I'm just going to point out, this is a large portion of why I love the show so damn much. Raw was amazing, and to me, it was because of this. What were your expectations going when, usually the guest hosts or the guest appearances on Raw aren't all that great? So what was your expectation knowing that this was going to be a thing?
It was a cool thing. It's amazing how that's kind of the magic of the WWE, where anything can happen kind of in an instant. Like, this was just an offhanded comment that Seth Rollins made couple weeks ago, and now Jon Stewart's on the show. But I think I missed something. Did Randy Orton turn on the Authority already? Like, did that happen at some point? Because, like, how the segment ended with Orton coming out and Rollins getting distracted. Did I miss something?
Not really, because how Raw ended kind of changes that. I think it was Orton's basically playing mind games. I guess that's where they're at with this feud right now.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, the Daily Show segment itself, it was exactly what I expected it to be, but it was also still entertaining. Just because it was, you know, predictable doesn't mean it was a bad thing, because you knew, you know, Rollins was going to do his thing, and then, you know, Stewart was going to come out, and then he'd get in some sort of situation where he's going to be saved by someone, because, I mean, I love Jon Stewart, but we know the man's not going to be able to defend himself against Seth Rollins. But it went really well. I mean, we expect Randy Orton would be the one to come out because we know it's leading to their Mania match. But it was cool that Jon Stewart got to hit the low blow, and hopefully we get a little more of this.
Plus, it just kind of cemented how awesome Seth Rollins is as a heel on the mic. Like, when he was just sitting on the Daily Show set or, like, throwing all those shots at Jon Stewart, it was honestly funny and amazing.
And I love the fact that he was saying it sarcastically. Like, he was being a heel, but at the same time, he was almost mocking the fact that he was a heel. It's like he was overplaying his role. And it was so great. And the fact that Jon Stewart is a legitimate wrestling fan. Anybody that watches The Daily Show, you'll see a lot of times, I mean, he'll make references to the Authority way before this thing with Seth Rollins came to be. So it was awkward at first, because we're used to, like, whenever the guest hosts or the guest appearances are on Raw, that they always make reference to, oh, the Ultimate Warrior, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. But here's a guy that can tell you everything about the current product. And you see that. And what a promo by Jon Stewart. Who would have thought?
No, he did a really good job. And I knew from his promo that he, you know, did against Rollins, like, earlier, you know, last week, that he was going to do good on the mic. Obviously, he's a natural. The guy's on TV all the time. But he knows his stuff. You could tell from his, you know, previous promo. So, you know, he was just laying things down. And not that it matters, but I want to ask you guys, do you think that this maybe wasn't organic and was actually pre-planned? I mean, you can think about the fact that Jon Stewart, like you mentioned, was at Money in the Bank in the summer, and maybe he got into talks with them or something, because wasn't it convenient that they happened to stop in New Jersey just before Mania, and it happened to be the one that Stewart was on? Things like that make me think that maybe they kind of had this in their back pocket.
I'm gonna say happy coincidence in this one. Like, everything just kind of fell in line. Like, Jon Stewart leaving the Daily Show, and then Seth Rollins making the jab, and, like, Stewart being a wrestling fan kind of reacted to that. I'm gonna say it was just the stars aligning, happy coincidence.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat, but more on the lines that maybe the WWE knew they were going to be in New Jersey, and they maybe just reached out to Stewart.
Of course they knew.
Or, well, I mean, you'd hope. You'd figure that's probably what a company should do. But maybe Jon Stewart or WWE, they contacted each other and say, you know what, I'm going to post this video. And we'll see what happens with it. And if it gets enough attention, then we'll do something with it. Clearly blew up. I mean, they saw TMZ, everything. And realistically, Seth Rollins, it makes sense. Given the whole, photo that leaked on the internets and everything, the low blow just was the perfect way to close the segment. It keeps Seth Rollins in the main event scene. I mean, the man has been on TMZ for the other situation, and now he's been with this. So if you want to talk about building another guy that's not John Cena and that it's not now no Roman Reigns, hello, this is the perfect freaking way to do it.
It's good that they didn't shy away from this because of the whole photo leak thing, because now it's like everyone's already forgetting about that, and like this is taking over the mainstream headlines, and that's only good for Seth Rollins, because this is probably, for a lot of the mainstream media, this is the first they're ever really hearing about him, aside from, of course, the photo leak. But I don't know how mainstream. I think this is getting more press than that.
Yeah, so it's seriously the best case scenario now. Something that I guess we have to bring up that's a bit of a sour note for me. Give Divas a chance, and I'm not saying that was the bad thing. And on the contrary, I'm full support of the fact that the Divas need more exposure. We talked about this multiple times. AJ Lee made her return on Raw, and the rumor match was that it was going to be AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins. That definitely seems like it's going to be happening at WrestleMania. What happens when AJ Lee comes out? CM Punk chance. What are your thoughts?
Just To use our own video as an example, just let it go.
Yeah, I was gonna say just watch that video to get our thoughts on that. I don't know when that's gonna go away. It doesn't help that the whole lawsuit thing kind of brought CM Punk back into the headlines with the whole suing the doctor or the doctor suing him. So it's staying relevant and fresh in people's minds. You would hope, AJ Lee was off TV long enough that things had cooled down, because there had been a string of weeks where there wasn't the chance, but what can you do about it? It's not going to go away. People like to, show off that they know things, and it's stupid, but what can you do? I still liked AJ coming back, and if this does lead to that tag match, I think it's going to be awesome. It's better than just some sort of diva battle royal or something like that.
Or like a gimmick match. I mean, they've had Maria Menounos. They always do like a... what's her name? I almost said Fergie for whatever reason. Oh, what's her... Snooki. There we go. What? How do I go from Fergie to that? But yeah, go on.
Yeah, welcome to the 2010s one. But aren't you guys a little disappointed that we might not see the Divas title defended at WrestleMania?
It sort of seems to be the thing.
I personally am. I mean, it got defended last year.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. I think, the Bella Twins have been kind of getting a lot of heat. They're trying to be the big heels, and I would rather see, Bella Twins versus, Paige and AJ in it, because it's like the Bella Twins on one side represent one type of diva, and then AJ and Paige are kind of like that antithesis of the typical diva. So I think it totally makes sense completely, and I think it's really cool, and it's something different.
But why not make it like a fatal four-way that still has the same kind of example?
Well, I'd rather have them team up. I don't.
But they can still team up in a fatal four-way. It adds like a whole dynamic to it, and then
we disagree, Keith.
We do, because
people, what's going on?
I honestly think that this match would be a better match if it was a fatal four-way, and I'm no booker or anything, but then you can have... Or T, but then you can have like the whole, it starts out being the Bellas versus AJ and Paige, the two different types of divas, then typical fatal four-way triple threat, hilarity ensues, and then one of the Bellas hits the other Bellas, and it turns into this all-out brawl for the Divas Championship. Like, it could have had a really cool dynamic.
What if you did a match of Sheamus versus the Bellas, and you called it Bellas versus Fellas?
I'm just going to give my thoughts on the Divas.
And ladies and gentlemen, this will be Ryan's last appearance on Byte.
No, for me, let's be honest here. WWE has done an amazing job of making that championship irrelevant. I think it has way more to do with the Divas, with AJ and Paige. I don't think anybody cares. I mean, how many times do we forget who's the tag champ? Or who's the IC champion or something? WWE doesn't do that great of a job of remembering.
That's a whole other
problem. It's easy to forget who the IC champion was.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But with the Divas thing, I'd rather have it be a tag match where it doesn't matter who wins in the terms that nobody changes championships, so they can focus on actually having a match. Because I think it's been a very long time since we've had a legitimate Divas match all out. Give them some time in WrestleMania. You really want to give them a chance? The Bella Twins have gotten ridiculously better. They are actually really good in the ring. I mean, who'd have thought? Everybody always made fun of them. I think they are some of the best in the roster right now. I may get some heat, but I already apologize for one thing. I'm not doing that for this.
Fair enough. And from that point, I do agree, because the Divas have been snuffed big time at WrestleMania. Like 28, I don't think they had a match. 29, they got cut from the show completely. 30, they had to follow the streak ending, so they were set up to fail miserably from that. So it would be cool if this whole give divas a chance thing ended up with them having some legit time at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't really care what it is, as long as it's not, a big diva battle royal where there's like no real focus to it. As long as they actually make it a legitimate build up and, give it time, then I'm all for it, whether it's a singles match or a tag match. But, at least care about it and don't just do a throwaway match.
But I don't think they can even make it a battle royal anymore, because they've kind of painted themselves into a corner in that respect, because you have the Andre battle royal, right? You can't have two battle royals on the same card.
Didn't that happen last year? Well, they had that big diva
It was like a pinfall, first to a pinfall match, even though...
Well, that's what I meant. Just don't do anything like that. Do a tag match, do a singles match. You can at least put a decent amount of focus on it.
Fair enough, but it'd still be a better fatal four-way.
Let's agree to disagree, people. We love each other. Always got to say that. Now, Keith, I got a very important question for you.
Yes.
Did you take some Niagra last night?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, I expected a different answer, but yeah. Anyway, we got to bring this up because, we have this feud going on between Damien Sandow and The Miz. Keith hates you right now. And when they were saying this whole commercial thing, I hear erectile dysfunction. I'm just thinking, that ain't PG. Take that off my screen, man. I mean, what is this, the cheap attitude era or something? But I just wanted to sort of bring it up in the way that they really are having some fun with this feud. I love how they're not taking it too seriously, that even though Damien Sandow, he gets pissed off at the end, they have fun with it. I love the fact that, this segment happened while they were with the lower to mid-card roster backstage. Adam Rose was there as John Cena clearly thinks he means nothing in wrestling. And I wanted to get your feedback. Did you like the commercial? Or are you going to get some Niagra?
I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. What is funny to me, though, is just the fact that just people film commercials at SmackDown. Like, that's a thing. You know? We're just gonna... And then also, when Miz kicks Mizdo out, it's just like, oh, well, that guy's walking away. I guess we're just gonna film the commercial with this guy. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't
what a
matter.
Producer.
So... I enjoyed it because, it was actually funny, but it took all human and societal logic and just threw it out the window, but whatever. It was fun.
Yeah, and plus just how low budget that whole thing was. That kind of made it even so much better. Like, you have a really crappy shot of The Miz into Miz wrestling into some, waterfall or something, and then the best produced shot in that whole thing was, like, a shot of Mizdow, which almost made it even better. It was a really funny segment.
And it's the little things. I was reminded of the Dean Ambrose TV exploding when The Miz says, hey, Damien Sandow, hit play while there's already, a 5, 4, there's a countdown already happening on the TV, but then he hits play, so magically it's already playing, but he hits play anyway. I know I'm overthinking it, but it's the little things that just make you go, come on, just have him hit play or something, or just, why does he have to click the button? I don't know. Am I overthinking this?
A little bit.
Yes, fine. We've dissected this more than any human should.
So you know how I'll make this better? I bring up Brock Lesnar. Bam. Things have changed. We're talking serious now. And it's legit. I mean, Brock Lesnar has been a huge topic of discussion in the past week. He was supposed to be in last week's Raw. According to some reports, he walked out. Obviously, a lot of speculation. Ryan, you posted a video on the weekend stating that... Yeah, you did, man. Stating that Brock Lesnar showed up at UFC after walking out in WWE. Obviously, the speculation is that WrestleMania ends, he goes to UFC. A lot of people are putting money on that. Paul Heyman comes out on Raw and basically says Brock Lesnar does whatever he wants and he goes wherever he wants before or after WrestleMania. So I want to get your reaction, Keith, because you sort of heard Ryan on the YouTube channel. Just what do you think about this Brock Lesnar thing mixed in with the Paul Heyman promo we got?
From the Brock Lesnar point alone, I just find it fascinating how they put all of this weight on this person, invested all of this time building him up, and they don't even know if he's going to be around next month. It really creates a whole situation. I remember even reading something that the writers asked Vince if they want to write WrestleMania without Brock. Like, how crazy is that to think about? But it just goes to show how different of an age this is, where anything can happen at any moment, really. Like, you're going to have the champion, the guy that beat the streak, not even, be around after WrestleMania. That's completely nuts. And then from the Paul Heyman promo standpoint, that's just Paul Heyman doing what Paul Heyman does best. Came out there, like he says, he shot from the hip, and then just killed it on the microphone. Now, he made that microphone his biznatch.
Literally, almost. It didn't work.
My only comment is a situation like this makes you wonder why maybe it's not always a good idea to break the streak or something like that. I mean, because of the risk. I mean, everyone knows that, if it doesn't end up working out, then that's all that time invested. I'm not saying they shouldn't have broke the streak, but you can see how it can sometimes bite you, you know?
And I think we've learned that for all the hate that we give WWE, realistically, them as a company, they've given a lot of opportunities that they later miss, or it comes back to bite them. CM Punk, I mean, they let him keep his name, no name change, leaves. We've seen all these things, and now Brock Lesnar gets handed the streak. Now, obviously, we're talking about us as fans. We've been so invested to the Undertaker thing, so it's not just a matter of, well, he beat the streak, but he's gone, but he already beat it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does, because every WrestleMania, that was something to us. And if WrestleMania ended with Undertaker never losing the streak, and he retired, we'd be okay with that because we got that conclusion and something came out of it, something that will always live on. With the Lesnar thing, the streak ended and the guy's gone, and then he was probably beat by Reigns, which takes a huge chunk out of the main event's atmosphere, really, because what are the odds that Brock Lesnar will actually win?
Well, let's look back to Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg from WrestleMania 20, where it was very close to this situation. We knew Brock was leaving, we knew Goldberg was leaving, and then it took that match, and basically it came off like a fart in church. There was no investment. They didn't even have investment in the match, and it was just a bad situation. So what makes history not repeat itself again?
Exactly, and I got to transition to the Daniel Bryan thing. Obviously, I was listening to the Talk is Jericho's. He has a really good 2-part series with Lance Storm. Yeah, you got to listen to that. They do some fast lane.
I actually was just listening to that.
Oh, yeah. No, weren't they great, man?
No, it was awesome. I mean, there was so much that they talked about, and they didn't even talk about WWE at all. And there was just so much of their history that was really cool and very interesting.
Yeah, but in that part one video, they talked a little bit about Fastlane, and it was interesting how they were speculating, where does Daniel Bryan fit into all this? And even on Raw, it feels so weird. It feels like he's trying to fit somewhere because obviously he came out at some point during the Intercontinental title thing, had a bit of a stare down with Ziggler, so obviously there's that speculation. But there's still the speculation that, no, he's going to be with Sheamus at WrestleMania because they want to do Sheamus Bryan 3. So it's like, what's going on, It's a little difficult. Which leads us to this Intercontinental Championship situation where at least they're doing something with it. First of all, the championship is way more relevant than I think it has been since after Cody Rhodes lost it when he introduced his white belt classic design, where, all these guys are just trying to take the championship away. We have R-Truth involved, Luke Harper, all of these guys. Do you like what's happening? Because, yeah, we are getting a ladder match at WrestleMania, which is awesome. And then we have this going on. So, what's up?
Well, I mean, originally I think we all thought it was going to be some sort of fatal 4-way or something ladder match. But now it seems like they're adding more people to the mix, and I'm worried it's going to just kind of get diluted. It was really reminding me of the Hardcore Championship, the way that,
I'm so happy you brought that up.
That people were just showing up and taking the belt, which was kind of cool. It was a little, R-Truth is a little cartoony and hokey. He's acting like Bugs Bunny or something in Looney Tunes when he's stealing the belt. But I don't know, at least there was multiple segments about the Intercontinental title.
Honestly, you know what it makes me miss? It makes me miss the 24/7 rule on the Hardcore Championship. Imagine if they brought back a 24/7 rule for the Intercontinental title, where if you're the champion, you're defending it all the time, every time. So all these title changes can technically happen just at a lightning fast rate. I think it would make the title interesting again.
And at least it would make more logical sense than everyone just carrying around the belt,
taking it,
and acting like they're champion. It kind of defeats the purpose of the championship if they're going to act like they're champion while they've stolen it.
Now, you have a legitimate worry, Ryan, which is that this is basically going to be that match from WrestleMania. Oh, cool, these spots are happening. Awesome. What happens the night after? I don't think that any of these guys are really going to get any chance to shine. I remember the past couple of WrestleManias, Dolph Ziggler always tweets, oh, I'm going to steal the show. But he's always in these multi-man matches where everybody just gets that one spot, and it's just a spotty move. Sorry for being redundant, but it's the fact of the matter. And then who can this really benefit? We know the guys that are involved. There's Dean Ambrose. There's the actual champion. There's all these guys, but where does it go? I mean, when you introduce a guy like R-Truth, who has been irrelevant in the product for well over a year, I'd say well over 2 years, really, what is the purpose of this?
It's to get a bunch of guys on the show. WrestleMania, they try and fit as many people as possible. That's why the Andre the Giant Battle Royal's there. And with guys who they feel maybe are a little bit above it, or they want to just do something else with them, they throw them in this match. That's pretty much all it is.
So, Keith and then Ryan, very simple question. What happens if Daniel Bryan gets officially added to the match? What's your reaction?
Honestly, disappointment. Even if we end up seeing Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, I'd still at least like to get Daniel Bryan in that one-on-one match at WrestleMania. Just give him time to do his thing and not get lumped in a multi-man match.
I would be very disappointed, and it's pretty pathetic that how many Raws are left? Like 3 Raws until WrestleMania, and Daniel Bryan has nothing set up. Absolutely nothing. If they're gonna do the Sheamus thing, why aren't you doing it right now? You only got 3 Raws to build this up.
Well, playing devil's advocate, I guess they know there's going to be a backlash regardless of which match he's in, because whenever he comes out, you can tell the crowd is happy, but not happy.
I think they'd at least appreciate like a well-developed feud versus, the week before. Oh, hey, you're going to face Sheamus. Cool.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be happy with whatever product. The fact is, he may be even opening up WrestleMania just to get the yes chance out of the way. So the fact that may happen is just an absolute insult to basically the whole movement. Everything that's been happening. The fact that it ends like that is really quite sad. But something that isn't sad is the return of...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the pick of the week.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back 2 weeks in a row with the pick of the week. This time, I take the chair, so let me get up and then back down. I actually did it. And I want to bring up Eastern Championship Wrestling. I actually got this, I'm watching it on the WWE Network. I work for a local company here in Puerto Rico, and I was sort of talking to Keith about ideas, some things I could implement. And he was recommending I check it out because they have some 30-minute shows. They have some that are an hour long. And it's nice to see just, old school wrestling in the term where it was before Extreme Championship Wrestling. You got guys like Shane Douglas, Sandman, before he was that Sandman.
He was a surfer.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that?
Like, now the name Sandman totally makes sense now. Like, he's a man on the sand surfing.
Who thought that outfit was a good idea? The black, like, vinyl-y or leathery thing or something?
The 1990s, that's who.
Yeah, if you want to see just how bad wrestlers thought, they thought these things were cool, do yourself a favor. Go to the Vault section, go to ECW Hardcore TV, and then go all the way back. I know it's a little bit confusing because the image makes it seem like it's, only Extreme Championship Wrestling, but you go back in like the 92s, 93, 94s, and you get some Eastern Championship Wrestling. So hopefully, after Ryan watches Lucha Underground, he can catch up and watch a little bit more of this someday. But check it out and send us a tweet at ByteThatCast. If you've watched it, if you like it or hate it, let us know. So that has been it for the pick of the week. If you have a recommendation for something that we should watch and maybe bring up, send us a tweet at ByteThatCast. You can also check out the channel, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. For this week, we post our 10th edition of Fight Night. It feels like forever, but we are up to episode 10. And also, go to ByteThat.com. Join our Byte That WrestleMania giveaway. We're giving away Chris Jericho's third book, signed. I found it at a Barnes & Noble. I stole it from somebody. No, I actually bought it legally. And you have a chance to win it. So go over to ByteThat.com/giveaway. You can do all these things to enter. You'll see, even at the end of the podcast tonight, we're going to be bringing up some questions that you guys brought up, and you get points for that. So you send questions to the show. Not only do you make the show better, you get a chance to win. How awesome is that, Ryan? Hey, Keith.
It is amazing.
This is the real talk thing. I was talking to Ryan about this. I'm gonna bring this up for about 2 minutes. I was checking out the IPs of the people that were signing up to the giveaway, and one of them is like, it's almost like they're related to you. It's almost like it's somebody that gave birth to you, basically, and she has entered the contest.
Will neither confirm nor deny these allegations and address this by saying that no person has entered with my last name in it, so it is technically fair game.
You bastard. Well, technically, I guess it's fair game. And for that person, that special person listening, you know who you are. You're awesome. And the fact that she responded who her favorite Fight Night character is by referencing a specific episode in a specific moment, that is why we do the podcast. So thank you so much for making this so awesome.
Love you.
Now, this is where things get a little bit more controversial. We're switching gears. This story broke out on Square Circle. We've heard about Bill Demott. For those that don't know, he was Hugh Morris in WCW. He is one of the trainers down at the WWE Performance Center. He was in Tough Enough in, I believe it was season 2. And then there's always been these things, these allegations about the way he trains people, the way he treats them. And I want to take it over to Ryan, where we are not either confirming or denying this. Honestly, it's interesting. It's intriguing. It's something different. We wanted to bring it up. So taking it to Ryan, give us a little bit of a summary about these allegations by a former NXT/performance wrestler.
Yes, so anyone who's heard of Bill Demott before knows that there's been a number of stories that have come out in the past about, his controversial, teaching methods and, how he treats people. A lot of hazing, I guess is the right word. So a very long letter from a former developmental talent, Austin Medelson, I guess, aka Judas Devlin. I guess that was his NXT name. He writes an extremely long letter detailing basically a lot of hazing that went on, a lot of times where people were forced to, do something where they would get injured, like they would overtrain somebody and, they would collapse. And then I guess this, Devlin, he, hurt his knee that way and just, a lot of times, he was doing things or just saying like derogatory things or whatever, inappropriate things. He goes through very specific examples of things that happened to guys like Enzo Amore and even Rusev, situations that had happened with him. So I recommend you guys check it out. This is all, of course, not completely confirmed, although there was another NXT developmental talent, a former talent, that was backing him up on it, saying that it was sad, but all of it was completely true. So we really don't know what the fallout is going to be of this yet, but obviously it does not look good for Bill Demott, and, WWE is not going to like the bad PR that comes out of this. For one thing though, the guy, did at least mention that every other trainer and person working there is, awesome. Like Ricky Steamboat and everybody else who's down at the Performance Center is great, and that it's really just a Bill Demott problem. So we're going to have to see, what comes out of this, but it is just kind of a major buzz right now in the IWC about, just a lot of very messed up and disgusting tactics that allegedly Bill Mott has done.
Yeah, and in other situations, we'd sort of ignore this and let it go, but this is not the first time. There's been a lot of things that pop up on social media. And
something with like donuts. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, there was that. There was the thing where apparently some wrestlers would have to train naked or something like that.
Yes, I think that was the same story.
Yeah, so it's these things that keep popping up that sound ridiculous, but then you hear other wrestlers back it up. And the fact of the matter is, put yourself in that wrestler situation. You know that the moment you post that, you're basically saying, okay, I'm never going to WWE again. They're not going to put me in there. So taking that risk, if that's the career you want to go, there has to be some truth to it. There has to. I'm not saying there is.
Totally. And think about, try to be in the shoes of somebody at the Performance Center. You just got in the door to potentially living your dream. and somebody comes along and says, you have to do this, guess what? You're going to do it, because if you don't, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe you make an enemy out of them and they screw you over or politic you out of the business. So it's just it's almost borderline inhumane, and it's really disgusting.
And
if it's true, I should say.
And it's not like it's unheard of in wrestling. I mean, how many times have we heard about paying your dues and all these stories that wrestlers write in their books? So it's not within the realm of, not being possible.
But I think there's a difference between paying your dues and having to train
100%.
100%. No,
but
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the whole paying your dues thing, but this is completely hazing. There's things that, it does not benefit you. It does not toughen you up. It is only negative. So clearly a lot of these things are. And we're going to have to see what happens, but I can't imagine nothing comes of this. But I don't know what's going on, because like we've said, there's been so many complaints about Bill Demott in the past. Like, I don't know who he's friends with, like what's keeping him going there, but he must have some friends in high places.
So here's the thing that immediately came to mind when, you started mentioning this, because this is the first I've heard of it. I've been a little bit out of the loop the last couple days. But on Stone Cold's podcast, Triple H admitted that he has a 24/7 feed at the Performance Center. That would lead you to believe that if this was happening, that would be something that he's fully aware of. And apparently if the talent has a direct line to him, you'd think somebody would say something. So how could this go unnoticed?
That is actually a genius point that you just made, because if this goes to some sort of legal situation, I don't know what level it would have to go where police could actually seize that footage, but that could
that's
be
real incriminating evidence.
Yes,
Definitely.
exactly. There could be a lot of incriminating evidence.
So it's something we're going to keep an eye out. There are a lot of things between this, the give Divas a chance, and just a lot of negative press happening behind the scenes. Maybe that's why they even did things like the Jon Stewart thing. They are a company. They have to care about their image. The point you brought up, Keith, is scary, I think, above anything else, because obviously some people have to be aware. Come on, it's not like the WWE is this, small local company. They know everything that's going on. How big is their staff?
This is one of the most high-tech performancer
to be fair,
developmental centers in the world.
To make
it's
one
not like
fair
it's some
point
gym.
Is a lot of, I think, what this guy said in his letter, Devlin, probably happened pre-Performance Center. So we don't know what's going on. I'm sure things have still gone on since, but I'm saying a lot of what he documented was before the Performance Center was built, I think. I'm not confirming that, but at least a chunk of it was.
So something related to the Performance Center I wanted to bring up. We actually posted a video about 2-3 weeks ago about Samoa Joe leaving TNA. All the rumors started piling up. He actually showed up at Ring of Honor's 13th anniversary show, which, by the way, awesome, 13 years. That is amazing for Ring of Honor. Now, all these reports, I believe it was Dave Meltzer reported that even though Joe pointed out almost like if he's going to be there full time, he only has about 5 appearances with Ring of Honor, because apparently, allegedly, he has actually signed a contract or is about to sign a contract with the WWE. So, not talking about his physics, not talking, physically how he's doing. Let's forget about all that and worry about. Or actually, let's think about the optimal Joe, the Joe we all knew and loved. What if he was there now? What if that's the one that signed? He's gonna get in shape. Kevin Owens was heavy. Way heavier than he is now before he signed up with WWE. Has lost a ton of weight, and he should stay like that. If that were to happen with Samoa Joe, where would you see him, and what would you like to see him do in the WWE?
I'd like to start off by saying, please prove me wrong with my next point, but I almost kind of think of Samoa Joe in the same light I do someone like AJ Styles, where 5 years ago, awesome that he's going to the WWE, but maybe this is just a couple years too late. You have that big guy in developmental now with Kevin Owens. Where exactly would Samoa Joe fit?
I half agree with Keith, even though I do think it's coming way too late in his career. I still think I would actually like to see a lot of matchups in NXT with Joe there. And if he does sign, I really think that's where he's going to go. Assuming he does. I just read a thing, I don't know how true it is, but AJ Styles was apparently offered something from WWE, and he was offered like $60,000.
Yeah, instead of
when he was
400,000.
apparently making $400,000 in TNA. So I imagine, it's going to be a big pay cut for Joe if he does come to WWE. Assuming that's true, I would still like to see it happen, but I agree it is a little too late. But hey, whatever.
The way I see it, WWE brought in a Rhino. I mean, we have our own Rhino here. They brought the Brian Kendrick. So maybe they just want more spotlight in NXT, because realistically, I don't think Rhino is going to be there full time. Maybe I'm wrong. Same thing with Brian Kendrick. But what if they just start piling up all these guys that have some sort of fame? They are relevant, because this is something I don't think a lot of people have realized. That Rhino, before he showed up in NXT, he was semi-active in Ring of Honor. Same thing with Brian Kendrick. And now we got Samoa Joe possibly. So maybe this is their way of, hinting to the independent guys, hey, you should check this out. You should maybe join us here every now and then. Maybe some sort of collaboration. But I think something's going on.
Well, I think that is smart that I don't know what they're doing, but I like these recent additions of Rhino and the Brian Kendrick. Like you said, it's probably not going to be long term, but if you think about it, most of the matches in NXT are, developmental guy versus developmental guy. So they did bring the occasional WWE guy down, but now you're getting, veteran talent that, outside of WWE kind of coming back in. So I think that's only good for the talent, and, it gives, some of the guys who wouldn't have anything going on if they were on the main roster something to do, on NXT.
Exactly. And plus, if the plan all along is to make NXT its own show on the road, it's just more star power and talent that can be at those shows. And that's a positive.
Yeah, I think the theme with NXT is eyeballs on the product. People care about it, so the developmental talent get exposure. By the time they go on Raw or SmackDown or whatever, people like them, and people know about them. They are wrestling a lot. The Lucha Dragons wrestled on Main Event 2 weeks ago or something. So not just Sin Cara, and they came out to the Lucha Dragons theme and everything. So
I think they were on SmackDown last week.
Were they on SmackDown? I need to start watching SmackDown, but it's... we've gone down that rabbit hole multiple times as to why I don't. But yeah, so that is a thing. By the way, quick question to those listening. Knowing the people that are semi-active in the independent scene, guys like Rhino, Kendrick, that have some sort of exposure, who else should there do we have a one-time shot thing? Send us a tweet at Byte That Cast. Now, there's just one last little quick thing that I gotta bring up about Raw, which is the John Cena, Rusev, Stephanie McMahon situation that included Curtis Axel, Axelmania. It ran wild on Raw. Curtis Axel got a chant, okay? He got a chant on Raw. I don't think his face, it was like he didn't expect it. And not only that, he justified his the pose he does at his entrance. He rips the shirt. So he actually ripped the shirt inside the ring. How awesome was that?
I really like this Axelmania thing. I don't know where it's going to go or whatever. At least he does get to be in that Andre the Giant Battle Royal, so they may be able to kind of play off of the whole thing. But I actually love that every week he says how long he's still been in the Royal Rumble. And it was really cool. And hey, anytime we get a segment with Stephanie McMahon and John Cena, you're doing something right.
Indeed. And speaking of Stephanie McMahon and John Cena quickly, Stephanie McMahon was on freaking fire. How she has that crazy you might die from this voice. She brought that out on Monday. But back to Curtis Axel. My dream possibility from this with tempered expectations is that he also doesn't get eliminated from the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He gets taken out and then this just continues to snowball.
All these things just keep piling up. So he is the most revered person or something like that in WWE.
Imagine if he keeps this Royal Rumble thing going all the way until the next Royal Rumble and then finally gets eliminated.
Can you imagine
that? Would be
that?
Awesome.
We get a 31-man Rumble since he was never eliminated. He comes out as number 0. The match starts
twice.
with him already in the ring.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. But talking about this segment, how amazing was it? Once again, why I love this Raw. We got a little bit of comedy and just great promos with Jon Stewart and Seth Rollins. But then this, John Cena is fully into the storyline. I am unbelievably surprised, happy. Rusev is doing great. Just every single thing about this feud is actually working. I care about it. It's awesome.
No, it was great to have, Stephanie basically being like, we want to have a WrestleMania without John Cena. And the crowd went like nuts for it, which was, it's Jersey, so it's a smarkier crowd. But, Stephanie was just so intense. And, I really liked it.
It was the interesting point that they did from that. Like, they kind of brought to light how John Cena just goes around and he tries to run the yard. Like, I'm entering myself in the battle royal. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm John Cena. I've won all these titles and I do what I want. And then Stephanie just comes out like, no, you need to remember at the end of the day that you need this more than this needs you, which might not be the truth behind the scenes, but it was just a cool little, new twist on the whole thing.
And I think it's way better than John Cena being a heel, because effectively he's being a heel in the way that he's demanding things. He wants things to happen. They're not giving it to him, but it's because he's John Cena, not because he's a bad guy. They've actually turned the John Cena character, franchise, if you will, and they're turning that into a thing. And I love the fact that it's not Rusev against John Cena, but Rusev against who John Cena is. Like the person that has basically grown inside WWE and is main evented. I mean, he feels the need to point out how many times he's been champion. Heels do that. I mean, babyfaces rarely do that. And I think that is absolutely awesome. It added the layer that this feud really needed, and I'm all for it. So having said that, we have a ton of questions that we're going to be getting to right now. Keith is going to be bringing up some ones from Twitter that we're going to be sort of lightning rounding. We can't confirm that we'll cover all of them, but some of the ones from the giveaway. That being said, a quick note, we do not have the premium model for the website that we used for the giveaway, so it doesn't show us the name of the person that submitted the question. So if you send us a tweet letting us know it was you, we'll retweet. We apologize for not having the name, but we still got the question on the show. So with that being said, Keith, take it away.
Yes. All right. First, the Twitter questions. The first one comes from Kman Plays MC at Kman Plays MC on Twitter. What is your opinion that the WWE doesn't do custom stages anymore? I'm guessing like very different stages for the pay-per-views. And what about WWE Pyro? Do you like how they it almost feels, I'm kind of like interpreting this myself at this point, but it almost feels like very sporadic and random at this point, big Pyro things. So what's our take on that?
I think it's totally a budget thing now. I like that the opening Raw promos came back. It makes you more pumped up for the beginning of the show. But I do really miss the custom stages. When they shifted into the whole HD era, I guess it just wasn't financially sound to have unique stages anymore. Now for pay-per-view, they'll just throw one set piece, they'll throw a bunch of crap on the stage, throw some ladders up there, call it Money in the Bank. I do miss those, Backlash had those cool metal hooks.
King of the Ring.
And stuff like that. Yeah, King of the Ring. They had so many awesome, sets that we don't see anymore, and it really gave every pay-per-view a unique feel. So I do miss that, and especially Raw and SmackDown had their own feel. Now they just feel like, oh, one's red, one's blue.
Long live the fist.
I miss that fist, and I think it's somewhere within the network they actually explain how heavy that fist was, which, holy crap, people walked underneath that thing. It's like over 10,000 pounds or 1,000 pounds or something like that, something crazy. But to summarize my thing, I think WWE spoiled us because when there was the Monday Night War, I guess they had to, always be better than WCW, who was horrible at stage and pyro. And then once the Monday Night Wars came to an end, we still got that in the Ruthless Aggression area, but everything slowly started to come down. Until we're now, which is we get no special stages. We rarely get pyro. When we get pyro, we react to it like, we got pyro this time. Wow. When that used to be a normal part of wrestling, the WWE themselves, made us need that or have that be part of the product. So it kind of sucks that it's not part of it. It gets you pumped. It gets you active.
But people do get really excited for the WrestleMania stage now because that's the only one that they actually do now.
Totally.
At least
No,
it
I
makes
basically-
WrestleMania more special.
I basically agree with you guys and what you have to say. My one point on Pyro would be that if you're going to do it, at least do it consistently. Like, don't like, oh, we're going to get Pyro this week. Nope. Okay, on to the show. So, Mr. K-Man Plays MC, thank you for your question. Next question comes from Ollie Batista on Twitter at French Toast 6000. That's a hell of a Twitter handle. He asks, what's the worst finishing move you've ever seen? Personally, the Superman punch makes me facepalm every time. Now, what's your guys' least favorite finishing move?
Well, he said worst. It's not my least favorite.
Oh, yeah, okay, worst. My apologies.
No, it's okay. I was just going to clarify there. First of all, the Superman punch, it's not a finishing move, so I'm okay with it. I think it looks cool, and he's not really pinning people with it, so it's whatever. As far as worst finishing move, it's the worm. It's not my least favorite, but the worm is the worst finishing move. You do this whole elaborate dance just to do a chop to the neck. It makes no sense. It defies all logic. His double arm bulldog should be the finisher because the guy stays down for 20 minutes for him to do the move. So, yes, worst finish move without a doubt, the worm.
For me, I need to be a little bit careful because I've worked with this person in the local sense, but I got to bring this up. And by the way, I'm just going to point out French Toast 6000, that should be the name of a finishing move. Just throwing that out there.
Yes.
Now back to this. Picture you grab somebody for a scoop slam, right? So you have him slightly over your head, and then the guy proceeds to basically have the guy that's about to be slammed, he falls on top of him. So picture like the scenario where, he tries to lift somebody, but they're too heavy, so they fall on you. But it's supposed to be a DDT. But it just looks like the guy fell on him, yet he's the one being given the move instead of doing the move. It makes no sense at all. And it is the worst move. The fact that I can't even explain it demonstrates how bad it is.
I can't wrap my head around that. It's an interesting, no. For me, I'm going to go with the WWE scale again. One of my personal least favorite moves is the leg drop off the top rope. It's just one of those things where I can't imagine a situation where that doesn't hurt the person doing it more than the person receiving it. Like, you're landing straight on your tailbone. How does that not just shoot this huge pain up your body? It's one of those moves that's never made sense to me. So thank you for your question, Mr. French Toast. I know you're Ollie, but I'm calling you the French Toast. Number 6000. All right. The next question. It's our interesting. You're going to get your own segment now, sir. It's our interesting question of the week from Mr. J4 Gaming at J4 Gaming YT on Twitter. Come up with 3 food/beverage items, 3 for each of us, that would be in a wrestling-based fast food restaurant.
All right, we've slightly gone down this road before, so I'm gonna try and come up with some things. I'm gonna, all right. We'll start with, why don't we rotate? So I'll say one right now. Let's go with the Great Cauliflower.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's hard to beat that. For me, this is really unoriginal. Val Venus's hot dog.
Damn it, you took mine.
Really?
I was going to say Billy and Chuck hot dogs. I'm going to be even more unoriginal and say Macho Man Randy Savage Slim Jims.
Why don't you have, like, Nacho Man nachos or something like that?
No, because I'm not that original. All right, Ryan, go.
Now we're gonna go again? Oh, Jesus.
3 for each of us. We'll get through this, guys.
On the
These
spot,
questions
this
are
is
so
tough.
difficult, man.
Well, all right, here's an easy one. You can have Steve Weiser's for the beer.
Yes.
Somebody, anybody. All right, name a food. Just name a food. I'll try and come up with something.
Yeah, let's put Ryan on the spot, actually. Ryan, let's see here.
Hamburger. Who would have a good hamburger?
Hamburger. Let's
Come
see.
on, Ryan. You can do
It's
it.
not easy.
It's so easy. How come you don't have an answer for it?
All right, now name a wrestler. We'll come up. This is
Yes.
not easy.
The Repo Man.
The Repo
I
Man.
would have Hacksaw Jim Duggan 2x4 fries.
You know what? I want that.
Let's see. Well, you could have some drink called the Rock Bottom or something like that.
Indeed.
How many are we up to? J4, this is a hard one.
Yeah. Way to completely derail our show here.
We should have done our homework for this one, but it is what it is.
All right. Well, that's a couple. I'm going to say that's good for our answer. So, Mr. J4 Gaming, thank you
I'm
for
proud
your
of us.
question. We did it, guys. We did it, Gunner.
Now, this is where we get to the lightning round portion where these are a ton of questions that we got in the Byte That WrestleMania giveaway, the Jericho book, ByteThat.com/ByteThatCast. Contest ends on March 23rd. So, Ryan, just taking it to you, bring up the question, then we do myself, Keith, you. And then we'll keep doing that until we have no more time right here in the podcast.
All right, sounds good. Cue the lightning because it's time for the lightning round. Keith, you don't actually have to do the lightning. All right, there you go. That's good enough. All right, why don't you think Dean Ambrose is as high on the card as Rollins, even though he's main evented a lot of pay-per-views late 2014?
I don't think WWE sold on him, and honestly, with everything that's been happening with Jon Stewart and all that, I think they've actually made the best decision right now for mainstream purposes.
And I think it's a face versus heel situation. WWE's got way too many faces, and WWE doesn't have enough heels. The only credible heels are really Rollins and Rusev, and Rollins is way higher up on that hierarchy than Rusev. So it's just, there's nobody else but Rollins that can fill that role.
Definitely a face and heel situation. Ambrose is a face, and the big face they're trying to build is Reigns, so he kind of gets, sent down for, he's lower on the card because of that. Rollins is a heel. They're trying to build him up to be a legitimate top heel, so he's higher on the card. Alrighty. Next question. You are a superstar celebrity. What WWE superstar do you pick as your bodyguard?
Can I pick Brock Lesnar, guy? I know he's not a WWE superstar, but I just love him. Just have him, by me. That dude's awesome. He makes wrestling amazing. So, you know what? My pick is Brock Lesnar, guy.
And my pick is Luke Harper, because imagine that man standing behind you about to mess anybody up you say. It is a win.
My pick is Mark Henry because he seems like a cool dude to hang out with, and I don't think anyone would try and mess with him. All right, next question. Since Sting is now in WWE, who else is the best wrestler to never make it there?
I know he was there, but I think the moment I say his name, people will understand Diamond Dallas Page. I refuse to acknowledge that career he had in WWE, and for everything he did in WCW, come on. You debut him as a stalker? Horrible choice.
I never even considered that, but I'm going to go the literal answer and say, really like AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or like that style of thing, but like 5 years ago.
I was going to also say AJ Styles, definitely one of my favorite guys to never be in WWE. All right, next one. Why do you think WWE fails to push guys like Cesaro?
I don't know. Because they're scared
brass
or
rings.
something. Because they're afraid to just let somebody be themselves sometimes. I know that at the end of the day, sometimes he's had some awkward promos, awkward moments. So I'm not saying that it's WWE's fault, but he was over with the swing very much at one point. People were marking out for him, and they killed him for no reason. But now he's picking back up again with Tyson Kidd and Natalya.
Yeah, I mean, they just haven't, according to Vince, they just haven't found those pieces of the puzzle, whether they exist or not. In their minds, it's not there. So I guess they'll just keep trying till they find it.
I think they did push him, but they pushed him in the wrong way with certain gimmicks, and it just didn't work out. He is a tag champ, so they're obviously wanting to do something with him, so wait and see. Next question. Why does everyone dislike John Cena so much when he can deliver a match?
Because of everything I think he said on Raw. Not playing devil's advocate based on the question. He's been at the top of the food chain way longer than Stone Cold, way longer than The Rock, way longer than Hulk Hogan. It's rare in wrestling that we see a guy, especially 90 on, be so over, be at the top. I mean, Macho Man Randy Savage, for the huge career he had, he was in the mid-card for a long time in WCW, so even the top guys at some point went back down. Cena's kind of doing that right now, but I guess that's why some people are just really negative on him.
To use an analogy, as awesome as pizza is, if you had to eat pizza every day for the last 12 years, wouldn't you be sick of it?
That's pretty much my point. He's just, no one's been the top guy this long in an era where it's weekly TV and he's on it every single week. So he was overexposed and people get sick of him. Also, it's just become a thing to dislike John Cena if you're a Smarky fan. And yeah, he definitely does still deliver in matches, but like we said, overexposed. Next question. What are your favorite wrestling DVD documentaries for any superstar?
I got 2 picks. Number 1, The Power of the Freight Train, independent wrestler from $5 Wrestling. I actually have a review up in our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. It's awesome.
Cheap plug.
Yeah, and we've watched $5 Wrestling. It is amazing. And then another one, the Paul Heyman documentary, which you can watch in the WWE Network.
Mine is not of a wrestler, but a company, and that would be the rise and fall of ECW. It was really that first documentary that went all quote-unquote smarky, and was just a hell of a story, so I'm going with that.
That one is great. I am a huge fan of the, CM Punk and Paul Heyman DVDs. I feel like in recent years, WWE's just gotten so good at those documentaries. I love the Jericho and Stone Cold ones as well. Batista's is great. So there's so many good ones. Pretty much anyone they make about a wrestler, even if I'm not even a huge fan of them, they're usually amazing because they're just so good at making them. So pretty much all of them for me. All right, next question. NXT is still seen as a developmental area for WWE, but there's a very big difference in terms of storytelling, matches, gimmicks, etc. Should NXT start being considered a territory where wrestlers go to change things up? Guys like Xavier, Kofi, and Big E aren't getting over on Raw and SmackDown. They can be traded to NXT for Neville, Corbin, and Zayn. Treat it like a brand itself rather than the school where you get called up to the main roster.
I think they should definitely be more aware of the brand that is NXT on the main roster. I wouldn't necessarily agree that they should just trade it off as a brand itself, though, where it is just Raw, SmackDown, and then NXT, because I think that it would get rid of that freedom that NXT has. But definitely have it be where if somebody isn't over, you can be somebody like Tyson Kidd. You go down to NXT, you get a makeover, you go back up. Things work out for everybody.
Exactly, because if something isn't working out for you on the roster and it doesn't work in NXT, obviously, it's more difficult down there, so it's doomed to fail, and maybe it's time for a rebranding. But I agree with Juan. It shouldn't be considered its own brand. It should be that thing where people come and work through it and then go to the big roster, because that's just the way of the hierarchy of the WWE goes. Now, in 10, 15 years, we're going to be saying things like NXT was really the trendsetter for how the new WWE is as the new regime takes over, potentially. So NXT will be its own thing one day in the Raw and SmackDown sense. If that made sense, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
I don't know if it should ever be a brand at the end of the day. It should stay as a developmental area. I do like that guys can go down like Tyson Kidd and refresh their gimmicks and really kind of find themselves. So that's great. But you keep it a developmental territory, it remains flexible. If you make it a brand, all of a sudden the pressure's on. So I say leave it flexible and, keep the pressure off. All right, next question. Keith's beautiful face. Or what do you think is the most important factor that WWE must take hold of if they want to keep their audience?
So do I have to pick between the two, or do I?
Yes.
You can talk about my beautiful face, or talk about what the WWE, what the most important factor if they want to keep your audience. It's
I'll do both. Keith's
choice.
Face looks like Tyson Kidd, and then the second one, I think that the WWE needs to keep the perception, not necessarily be the thing, that the product is hard to figure out. I think that a lot of times we just can tell everything that's going to happen because we've watched wrestling so long. I mean, it goes with the same way you watch a movie. A lot of times you know exactly what's going to happen, but a very good movie will make you forget about that long enough that when you go back to it, you don't even mind that it was predictable at the end of the day. And the WWE is sort of doing that with Seth Rollins, who nobody expected to turn on the Shield, but keep that happening a lot.
Indeed, and to further, what would be the word to make to validate Juan's point? That's what I'm looking for. I will say that my beautiful face kind of looks like Tyson Kidd as well. In fact, one time at a charity event, I went up to Wade Barrett, and he's like, "Hey, you look like Tyson Kidd. Has anybody ever told you that?" So if Wade Barrett says it, it's true. Now, as far as what the WWE needs to do to keep their audience, honestly, I think it's like a two-part thing between not being so reactionary when something goes wrong, like have a little bit of confidence in what you're doing, and finding that fine line between giving people what they want but still letting them kick and scream a little bit if something doesn't go their way. It's a fine balance, but finding that, I think, is where the sweet spot is.
And I just choose Keith's beautiful face. Next question. Do you think sometimes fans are too negative on the product?
589.9% is my answer. Yes.
Yes, I agree. 600%, just to go a little over Juan's point. Like, everybody needs to take a moment. If you're like complaining about something that happened on the show, and just remember, like, take a step back, realize that, hey, this is something we love. Like, we're passionate enough that we're mad at it. So just enjoy it every once in a while, because goddamn.
And yeah, how I feel is, I mean, everyone's guilty of being too negative on the product sometimes. And, in the show, we love to kind of dissect things. And sometimes we just kind of get into that zone where we're complaining a lot. But at the end of the day, sometimes we just have to kind of sit back and enjoy it as a show and not always have to get so worked up about, things not going the way you want it to. Sometimes you just have to trust the direction and just try and enjoy it the best you can.
It's a TV show at the end of the day. If you want to watch it, do. If you don't, there's plenty of other options that aren't necessarily wrestling. So thank you to each and every person that sent those questions. Remember, by sending that question, you raise your chances to win. So go over to bytedad.com/giveaway for your chance to win. Send questions. We'll keep coming up on the show with them. There are questions for the Squirt Roundtable.
One note on that.
Oh, what?
I want to say one note on that. If you are going to ask a question like these fine folks did here, if you want a shout out, just put your name at the end of the question.
Good call, man. Yeah. For everybody, once again, tweet us if you're one of the guys that left the questions or gals. And for everybody that's listening to the show and leaves a question, what Ryan just said, put your name in there, or at least what we want to call you, because that French toast guy, he's French toast guy forever for me. So for everything else, Mr. McNulty, take it away.
All right, well, we want to thank everyone for listening once again to another edition of, I almost said Fight Night, but it is the Byte That Podcast. But speaking of Fight Night, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast this Thursday, you can check out episode 10 of Fight Night. You can also check out my video on Brock Lesnar and that whole situation with him showing up to a UFC event and news on him having a fight with Vince McMahon. That's already up there on the channel. As always, there'll be another weekend video up as well. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can always catch our Twitter at ByteThatCast and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/ByteThatCast. For everything else, you can go to ByteThat.com, where you can go to the giveaway that Juan mentioned, the best in the world at what I have no idea, Chris Jericho's third book, signed. ByteThat.com/giveaway to enter a chance to win that. So thanks again for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week.